And action, recording in progress. And good afternoon, everyone. And welcome to today's Lowrey product feature class. And we'll start off with a little number here, and then we'll get into some stuff. I had one song choice in mind, but I think I kind of like what I just chose there. So let's see. I'll start off with this one, and then I'll go into that one. Find that right note in there somewhere. Now, the trick to making it sound good is the faces you make when you play. Okay? So just a little secret. When you're playing, just kind of do that stuff. Or at least you'll think that you're sounding better by doing it that way. All right. Well, what just for whatever it's worth, the style that I used there was jumping jazz. Really has nothing to do with the class today, but just in case you're wondering, I did jumping jazz, and I just used rhythm preset 0, style setup vintage 0 on the EX. And then what I did is I went to category preset jazz 0, and that gave me the brass shake with a harmony, which automatically put on a 5-part harmony. Okay. This card a little closer so I can do this within arm's reach. And what I want to share with you today is I want to talk a little bit about harmonies. Some of these are just basic stuff, basic information that you may already do, but it's also going to be some helpful information. Where do I use a harmony? A lot of times the presets set up harmonies for us, and we go with it. And then sometimes we like to choose our own harmony. So I'm going to give you kind of a little bit of an idea of how some of the harmonies work. I don't know how they all work. I do actually have a little chart that I'll screen share for you. And if you want this, if you don't have this already and you need it or would like it, Write down my email address, rroman@fletchermusic.com, and I'll put it in the chat here as well, just so you have it. Let's see here, chat. How do I use the chat? It's been a while since I did a chat. rroman@fletchermusic.com. Okay. I think I spelled it right. Yeah. Okay, just send me an email saying, please send me this harmony sheet if you don't have it. Some of you probably already do. So what I'm going to do, we're going to talk a little bit about harmonies today. Now, I'm going to bounce back and forth between SU and the A's grouped in one and the E, X, EY in another, because some of the wording has changed with Lowrey, and some of it, so you'll have at least an idea when I'm talking about this. So there are up to 15 harmonies on the Lowrey organs. Okay, and there's some other manufacturers that have similar harmonies. They may call them something different, and some they have just as many harmonies, in some cases more. And so this picture here that you're looking at is what comes up on, it looks like the Marquee. Okay, now most of these are actually the same on the A and the SU, but some of the wording is a little bit different. So for example, this one, it says rock on the A and the SU series is known as fourths and fifths. Okay, and I'll go through some of these as we do the class, and I'll give you an idea of how some of these work. And the purpose of this is so that if you decide to put on your own harmony, you kind of have an idea where to play in that range. Now, a lot of times you're going to know, and the reason why you're going to know that is because your ears are going to tell you. You put on a harmony, you start playing, and it doesn't sound right, you know, oh, I either got to take it up or down. Okay? So, a lot of the presets set up these harmonies. So I'm going to start with the basic one that most people are familiar with, and it's simply called AOC. All right? And AOC has been around since, I want to say, gosh, I'm going to say the 80s for sure, maybe even a little further back. And over the years, Lowrey added different harmonies. But AOC is a simple harmony that works like this. When you have a sound on, whatever you have programmed, let's see, I'm going to put on just some good old-fashioned strings here, okay? Some beautiful symphonic strings. When you have a AOC selected, what it does is it takes whatever the chord you're playing and the note you're playing, and it takes from the chord you're playing and whatever note you're playing, and it adds two other notes to the note that you're playing. So it's not always going to be exactly the notes from the chord. So for example, a C chord is C, E, G, or G, C, E, or E, C, G, however you want to say it. It has those three notes. If I were to play a note up here that's either a C, G, or an E, it'll add the other two. But those notes are going to change as you're changing the notes as well. Okay, just keep this in mind. I've had a lot of over the years. A common phone call that we've gotten is I have the harmony on and I'm playing, and it sounds out of tune. Well, a lot of notes, I call them passing notes, aren't designed to be held. So, for example, when you have the AOC on, and I have a C chord, and actually I'll just put on the easy button. Okay, I've got a C chord being held. If I play the E note, what it'll do is it'll take the melody note and it'll add two notes below it that fit this chord. So in this case, it'll play C and E. So it'll do this with this with one finger. Okay? But when you're playing songs like, it could be as simple as, okay, not every one of those notes are going to harmonize perfectly with the chord. So how does it work where it doesn't sound bad? Well, you play the song, you'll notice that some of these notes are not intended to be held. So in other words, this would be. It doesn't really sound bad. It sounds all good. It doesn't sound out of tune. But here's what typically happens. Some students will have a harmony on, and they'll try it out, and then they'll go through those notes, and then they'll stop on one, and they'll say, something doesn't sound right. Now watch. That's since my organ's out of tune. And then we explain to them, well, that note doesn't fit with the C chord. Well, but the music calls for the notes. Well, a lot of passing notes, I call them passing notes, aren't designed to be held. So in a song like that, you don't go blue, blue, Spanish. you go blue, Spanish. You hold, you pass through it. So let's put on a Latin here and listen to it. And you don't say, oh, it sounds out of tune. It works because I just keep moving along. It'll add two other notes that fit the chord, but it's a very brief moment of time you're holding those notes. And what I'm telling you this up front because when you're playing any of the harmonies, that's going to hold true for any of the harmonies, okay? So the AOC, I'm going to put up this chart here. This is a great chart to have. If you don't have it, I've put it out in the world a few times. I can very simply send you a copy. But here's an example of an AOC. So if I hold a C chord down and I'm playing the C note here, okay, it'll add G and E for me. But notice here, as I play another note in the C chord, it adds the other three. Okay, so it'll tend to change the note. Now watch what happens when I play F, C, A, F. In an AOC example, the melody will always be on top. In many of the harmonies, the melody is always on top. Okay, there's a few harmonies that it will not do that. Okay, well, we'll get to those. So AOC is very common. It's a three-note. A lot of it call it a closed harmony, and that means the notes that it adds are together. So if I'm playing this, the other two notes are here. If I play this, these two notes, the notes are very close to each other. Okay? And with a three-part harmony, some sounds that you use can work well in this range when you're playing. So if you notice, but if you get a little lower on the keyboard, we get that famous "my organ is sounding muddy" comment. Because what is happening is if you're playing down here, you're playing a note, it's adding two other notes below it. Okay? Now, if you have a song you're playing, and I'm going to just tell you this now because this will apply to a lot of the harmonies. If you have a song that's playing and you like to play in this range, maybe your hands, you want to play the song here. There's two things you can do. You may do both, or you do one or the other. One is you can transpose the organ up, and vice versa. If you're using a harmony, you're playing your notes high, but you're still a little too high, transpose the organ down. So I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to transpose the organ. I'm going to go up about 5 or 6 half steps. How many times did I do that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 times. Now let's try it again. Let's see. Wow, I actually like the way that sounds. I really love the way that sounds. Now, I don't have any rhyme or reason when it comes to how many steps up. I just put it up, and then I start playing. And if my ear says, hey, I like that, then it'll work. I really like that. I'm up on F sharp, which is 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 half steps up. Okay? Or the opposite. You can transpose it down. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and play it up here, and you're going to get a similar effect. But now I can play up in this range. However, if I go back down here now, watch out. Not good. Okay, so that's one little thing. The other part of it has to do with what instruments you have on. I happen to have a 16-foot string on. 16-foot string is a low, it's kind of a lower tone, a lower octave. If I put on an 8-foot string, let me turn off whatever else is on here. Okay? So if you have, what else is on here? Here we go. Now here's a 16. It's an octave lower. So if you have certain sounds on, like clarinets, trumpets, 8-foot strings, your symphonic strings inside, a piano at a normal range, a lot of those ranges are in a range that you can play. It allows you to play here with a harmony, but you still may have to transpose it up a little bit. So here's the 8-foot strings. And I'm going to put on the AOC and play the same thing out without transposing. And it works. Now if I go down to the 16 instead, kind of see got really low. So there again, that's the two workarounds. Look at the instrument you have chosen or transpose the organ. And there is no right key. Your ear is going to tell you what's the right key. Okay? Now, I'm on, I talked a little about AOC. I want to talk a little bit about duet harmony now. Let's see here. Where is duet harmony? Duet. Okay, if you look at duet, you'll see here that there's only 2 notes. Now, duet is kind of an interesting harmony because there's only 2 notes, it may give you the flexibility of playing in a lower range because there's not so much happening. So if I put on, let me put on the same setting with the deeper strings and a duet harmony. Let's see what happens. It's still kind of low. Okay? But there are also some key things, key sounds that you can use with this. A very popular one is using like a flugelhorn and a trumpet or both with some 8-foot strings. If you're used to using your Latin category number, I think it's 10, it actually uses a horn sound with some strings. That mariachi style sound is very common, and it uses a duet harmony. So here is the Latin number 10 category preset. And let me just pick a rhythm here. Let's see. I'm going to use a, how about, oh, here we go. I like this one. Latin big band. Speed it up just a little bit. No transposing. And watch where I'm playing. I'm playing on the 1, 2, 3rd C from the bottom. Whoops. But listen to the sounds that I have on. I have a trumpet. It actually has a little bit of an accordion in there, and it has 8-foot strings and a violin. All of those are in that same range as what would be like the 8-foot strings. So if I have a duet harmony playing 2 notes, it's pleasing to the ear. on that same note, if I play it up here, because of the sounds that I'm using and the range, it's actually a little hard for my ears. Ouch! So again, if you were using that setting, depending on the song you're playing, the song I'm playing has a little bit of a range here. It's using a whole octave. So I would make a decision in this case. If I was using this setup for the song that I'm playing, Cherry Pink and Apple Blossom White, and I don't want to play the whole song here. I want to get up in this range a little more. If I'm going to go up and it's too high, transpose it down. And then as I do that, it's like, I had to go down quite a few steps. Now let me try it in the opposite direction. I'm going to go here, and I'm only going to go up a few steps. 3 half steps. That part of the song I go up a little bit high. So what I just did is I have I'll just tell you what I'm doing. I have a Latin big band. I put it at a tempo of 119, or pick a Latin style that you have or like or appreciate. I have the Latin 10 category preset, which is the mariachi type style. And then I transposed it up 3 half steps. And for that song, I played it here. So my range exceeds this. At one point, it goes up a few extra notes. Now here's another case. This E note does not fit a G minor chord. But if you hold it, it's not going to sound good. But if you just play it, watch. I better stop there. That was great sound. I won't get very far in these harmonies. Move on to the next harmony. Now, if you have a phone or you want to take a picture or if you go in your owner's manual, I'm going to switch cameras here for a second. Can you see that? Okay. So oh wait, that's not it. There we go. All right, so those are all the harmonies on the A and the SU series. You see there's 15 of them. Sorry, there's 12 there. Wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 12. All right. The 3 that are not showing are on the dashboard, which is AOC, duet, and 3-part. Okay? And those are the other 12. Most of those are going to be labeled the same on the EX and the EYs. There's a few exceptions. So for example, 4ths and 5ths is, I believe, called rock harmony. 3-part, which you don't see on the screen, is called something else, and I'll get to that in a second. 4-part is 4-part. They have a hymn, country, polka, block, 5-part. Many of those are going to be there's a couple of them that are worded a little bit different, okay? So I'll leave that up for a second. 5 seconds, 3, 2, 1, I'm back to here. Okay, so going back to the harmony sheet, all right, so we had AOC, there's duet, And then there's this one that's called three-part that you didn't see up on the screen. But if you have an SU series or an A series, if you're not sure which one you have, just ask. Send me an email, text, smoke signal, ask your PA. Or check, if you check the email that I sent out, I actually put all of the models that are in the different classes. Now, three-part here, you notice it says open. So I'm almost certain that this open AOC is the one that's referred to as three-part. Now, what's cool about this is this sheet shows you an example that when you play, the other notes that it does, okay? And as you'll see here, it's kind of interesting how this does it. And let me show you exactly what's happening when you're using three-part or open AOC. Now, some of you may not know this unless you know your organ players, and I hope this is correct because this is what I was told years ago, and this is what I've been saying for all these years. There was an organist, and I want to say he was popular back in the Chicago area. His name was Jesse Crawford. Does anybody, show of hands, know the name Jesse Crawford? He had a unique organ style, and he did a lot of what's called open harmonies. And what he would do is he'd take, in short, if you take AOC, for example, okay, here's the C note, okay? And if I do AOC, it's going to play, let me put on AOC, it's going to play G and E with one finger, okay? I'm doing the full three-finger chord. Okay? Same thing. Now, what the three-part harmony does is it takes that same example and it takes the middle note out and brings it down an octave. So what happens is it really spreads your notes out. You'd have to have really long fingers to do that with one hand. Actually, I don't think I'll have fingers long enough to do it. So when they're playing, they would play, and I'm not going to do this right. Oh, wait. I can't even do it. So that's why we have the harmony. So you press the one note, and it automatically does that. So if you notice, now the question is I'm playing the notes here and the notes are really spread out. Why is it working in this range? I happen to have an organ setting on that is a 8-foot flute and a 2-foot flute. Now one of the sessions that I did, I talked about the pipe settings. If you have an 8, I'm going to turn off these flute tabs. If I have a 16-foot flute, it's the long pipe, but it's a very lower tone, okay? The 8 is an octave higher, okay? So what happens is this particular setting had an 8 and a 2-foot flute. By the way, if you turn on the organ, General Preset 6 activates this feature. So that's why when I'm playing, now if I do the same thing with a 16 and a 4, watch what happens. You may not like it. Because now the notes are spread out, but with a lower tone. It's just really spreading the notes out. So it goes back to what I said earlier, depending on the sounds that you have on. So if I had some really pretty 8-foot strings or some of the, I don't know that, it's a preference. I don't know that I would use depending on the instruments, I wouldn't do clarinets and woodwinds. You can probably use some of the string sounds like the violins would have you, but you know, this harmony is commonly used a lot with the organ sounds, the string sounds, and choir sounds. So if I put on that organ sound again, now we put on an 8-foot strings and watch. bring in a vocal ensemble. Again, let your ears be your guide, because you may want to go up and put three-part harmony on your own when you have a certain sound on. And if you play it in one range and it doesn't sound good, bring it up an octave. If you play in an octave higher and it doesn't sound good, now that means you probably want to transpose the instrument up or down depending on where you want to play it. All right? So there are a lot of great setups that you're going to find that come on. Another one that I like is your four parts, your block harmonies. Those are great harmonies. I'm going to jump to one for a minute called the country harmony, which is very similar to duet harmony. And here's what they have in common. Let's see, here it is. If you notice, country harmony has two notes. Duet harmony has two notes. But here's the difference. You'll notice that in the country harmony, when you play the melody, it adds a harmony note above the melody. And you'll see in this example, it says, here's the harmony note. Okay? And depending on where you play, the country harmony will automatically do the grace note for you. Very noticeable when you're using the pianos with it. So in this case here, automatically sliding in a note. So if you put on, you know, one of your great country styles, oh, actually I'll just do Floyd piano. How about that, huh? So I'm playing the melody, the harmony note is above it. And in certain notes, it knows where it should do the grace note for you. You can add some strings to that. Some great harmonies. Now, let's get into some other harmonies here where, and the one thing that I always like to stress is when you have harmonies like country, polka, hymn, don't fall in the trap of thinking that's the style of music you have to play. Okay? So here's this harmony is a great harmony for the song that I'm playing. Oops. Okay? Now I'm going to keep that same setting on. And I'm going to play something totally different than country music. How about, okay, well, I think this is different. No, you know what? Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do a little Latin here. Ballroom Latin. Play the song right. All right, here we go. And you don't have to stick with the pianos. If you want, you could put on, let's say I put on just some strings, and maybe, actually I'll do something totally different. I'm going to come over here and put on my symphonic strings, and let's see here. Oh, no, that's not it. Here's the symphonic strings, and I'll put on a violin with it, and then I'll put on a duet country harmony. Here we go. That was a country harmony with strings and violin. Most people know that's a country harmony. So don't get caught up on the harmonies having to play those style of music. Obviously, they sound great with that style of music, but you can do other songs and what have you. If you look at polka harmony, that one is now called, where's my chart? There it is. Octave duet. Okay? So if you hear us referring to polka harmony and you have the E, it should be octave duet. And if you notice here, this is how it's playing those notes. So if I'm playing a C chord in the C note, it's doing the C and the E. And if I play a D while I'm playing the C note, it's finding the right notes that would fit. If I play the E note, so you see it plays an octave note, and then it adds another note that fits in the chord. And it's commonly, obviously you put on your accordions, whatever, but you can use these for different things. Some of the ones that I love that I use the most are 4-part harmonies, block harmonies. Block harmony is commonly used to create a George Shearing type sound. So for example, if you go to your category presets and you go to, let's see, it's called Jazz category number 9. It says shearing. And shearing, the shearing sound, you'll notice there's this pops up in different places and the harmonies are slightly different. So in this case, I believe it's a 4-part harmony. Yes. So it puts on a 4-part harmony. The sound choices that it has is a piano and a jazz guitar and vibes, okay, with a 4-part harmony. And so let's say I put on a style like, we'll do like a swing. Let's see, how about this one here? Jazz Club. I don't play that one often. Here we go. That was using the jazz category with category preset, that is, or setup, number 9, and then I used a rhythm style called Jazz Club. And it gives you, here's your guitar, your vibes, and a piano. But you notice the range that I'm playing it in. Playing a 4-note harmony a certain way, and it's kind of a closed harmony, but you start playing down here, it's going to sound a little bit harsh, or at least it does to my ears. It actually kind of works. But if I get it lower, So I guess it depends on the setup you're using. Another one that has that George Shearing, if you have your big band category, big band number 0. So that's just putting big band with no preset on. Most people use that preset when they want that sound of that Ray Anthony brass section, which is great because it actually, I think it does. Yeah, it does. The Ray Anthony brass sound, what made him stand out a little differently is he kind of focused on a more of the mellow mid-range sound than your typical brass sounds that you would normally hear in a big band. Like if you put big band 10, for example, it puts on a 4-part harmony with some brass, some trombones and trumpets, and it's got a little bit of another brass ensemble, and then they throw in some strings to try to smooth it out. But it's still a nice, bright. And that's by design. That's the way that's supposed to sound. But you put on, you know, if you wanted to play a song like Somewhere Over the Rainbow, which I did in the Song of the Month class. I actually sometimes will use the Ray Anthony brass sound for this. But if I use the big band 10, it's a little bit too harsh for that song. Let me put on just a plain old easy 4/4 style. And let me try playing Over the Rainbow with big band number 10 brass. Just doesn't seem right for me personally. Now I'm going to put on big band 0, which is the Ray Anthony brass sound, and now watch. Like a smooth and mellow brass sound, which is very unique. And then on the bottom keyboard on that, it has a block harmony with, let's see here, with some piano and something else in there, and watch what happens. It's not the exact same setup as a George Shearing, but it's got that same flavor, if you will. And that block harmony kind of really lends itself to that. There's some other cool ones in here. Let me pull it up on the screen here. All right, go back up to this page here. Where is it? Hymn. There it is. So hymn, you could see, really spreads out the notes. In some cases, it drops a note way down an octave. So this, again, if you're using, you don't want to use a lot of, well, you can if you use some of the lower tones, like the 16-foot strings, trombones, and 16-foot flutes and things like that. You have to play it up on a higher range on the keyboard, or it's going to sound extremely muddy. Okay? But when you use the hymn harmony, so for example, if I want to put on this choir, all right, here's an AOC. Now I'm going to put on the hymn harmony. This is a higher range vocal sound, so it works in this range. One time I did something like this. I wanted to play a good old classic gospel tune that many people are familiar with, Amazing Grace. So I wanted to get some really nice organ tones. And so what I did is I put on my preset number 1. Okay, so you start off with traditional organ. And I turned off all the flute tabs except for the 16. So now all I have is this. And then I hit the high one. Okay, so you got a low and a high. And then I added some sustain. Okay. And then I took it an extra step, and there's a little tab over here called flute chorus, and it takes the sound, gives it kind of a stereo effect. And then for good measure, I touched the jazz button, so I have now the kind of a Hammond-like effect. Okay, and then I wanted to use the hymn harmony. The problem is this setup, if I put the hymn harmony, because of the way the notes are spread out, let's see what happens here. It's a little too low. It's bringing a note way down here. And if I play it up here, it works, but it's a little high. So what I did is I played it up here, and I transposed the organ up or down for my ears. So for example, in this case, I'm going to play it in the high range and transpose it down. And now I'm going to do the same thing. Here we go. That's using the low and a high, giving it a really hollow effect. And you can try it with others, like 16 and the 1 1/3. And you don't have to play Amazing Grace. You can play all sorts of other things with it. Let's do a little golden harp. Throw in some strings. So I hope you like that. I started liking it as I was going. That was just one example of the hymn harmony. The one that's called fourths and fifths, or commonly known as rock, depending on the organ that you have. And you'll notice here, I think it says, where is it? Where are you? Rock, or yeah. Oh, there it is. You say rock, also known as a power chord. One of the first things guitar players learn to do, or rock guitar players, should I say, is they learn to play what's called a power chord, because it's very easy. Once you learn one, then you can play a lot of songs. And in the rock world, a lot of kids, when they first get a guitar, if they're learning rock, the one song they learn always is "Smoke on the Water," which I've never really liked. But it was easy to learn to get my fingers playing the guitar. And all that means is it takes what it does is it takes whatever note you're playing, and it's an octave, and the fifth note of that. So a C chord, for example, would be C, E, G, and then the octave would be C. Okay? So in a power chord, it's C, G, C. And so you find that a lot with guitar sounds, rock guitar sounds. Let's see if I can get a little guitar. About. Oh, actually, I know where I can get one. I'll put on my 50s rock here. Let's see. Rock guitars, okay. Okay, so instead of playing this, very common with guitar players, they do this. So whenever you see them do this and they're making that look, that's a power chord. Now you wouldn't think Liberace was a power chord player, huh? But what's interesting is if you go to styles like Candelabra, which I believe is called what? Candelabra piano on the EX? Or Mr. Showman. I can't remember what it's called on the EX. They've retitled it. If you put on one of those two styles, let's put on Candelabra, okay? And this is the one that a lot of people say, oh, that's that Liberace style. But I don't know if you caught on to it, but it's got a harmony on with some pianos, and it has the fourths and fifths in there, and it gives you that effect, that style that Liberace played. Listen. What am I going to play? Okay. Notice that sound, that has that Liberace sound. If I put on the same style or category, button, should I say, it's under specials, Mr. Showman. Notice. That's Liberace styling there. But listen to the piano effect. Now, I'm referencing a lot of these styles and presets that give you the harmonies for a reason. And I meant to say this earlier. And the reason is, if you find a harmony that comes on by pushing a preset and you like what you hear, it's a good time to stop and reach over and look at the harmony that it has, because if you ever want to create your own, that's how you get some of those ideas. So if you're doing like block harmonies, a lot of times big band type sounds go great with them. Piano vibes, guitar combinations to give you that shoring. You can come up with your own shearing effect. In that case, it gave me a nice piano, making it sound like Liberace. 4-part is great always with strings, your symphonic strings and choirs, sometimes combined. And then even if you for example, if I put just a preset 4, and I'm going to put 4-part strings on, okay, just something. That's just a general preset 4, and then I put 4-part harmony on. Now I'm going to bring in a 8-foot flute. Listen. Bring me some choir. Great effects with one finger that you can get that are physically difficult to do, not only physically, but musically. You got to really know your scales and the differences what the harmonies do in order for you to try to do those manually. And if you're trying to play what I just played, even if you knew the 3 notes, you know, like if I was just doing an AOC, if I wanted to play it manually, you'd have to do it like this. You'd have to know everything. You have to be able to play every single 3 notes for every chord with the melody on top. And that's the beauty of having these harmonies and trying them out, because the hands won't be able to do what the harmonies are intended to do. A couple others that I think are pretty cool. If you go to your brass category presets, 0, you get automatically a plunger trumpet along with some harmonies, and it gives you a, I think it's a, I want to say it's a block harmony. Let me see here. Down here, no harmony. Here's one for you. So when sometimes I'll put on the Chicago swing style. You know, this style's been around since actually the late 80s. You're probably familiar with that. You could have some fun with that. Same intro with a minor chord, but if you put on the intro 2 with a minor chord, watch this. Slow it down a little bit. Do the same thing at about 110. Here we go. So some really cool, fun things you could do with that. And here's another, see if I remember. Before I do this, I'll do my last one here. Any questions? I should have given you a chance to ask questions along the way. I got so caught up with what I was doing. Questions? None off the top of your head? Put them in the chat. Email me if you have a question afterwards. Usually I always have a question afterwards, or I think of something after. Let's see here. No, that wasn't it. Where is it? Oh, when in doubt, I'm trying to find the style. Go to my style list. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, okay. No questions? No? Hopefully you had a great class. I'll finish off with this other one. Some of you may know about this style. We've done it once or twice over time, but I'll share it with you just in case, okay? Before I do, I've been meeting a lot of people throughout, online. We have a little bit of a presence online, so I've met some new people that are like, what's Patreon? You keep referring to that, I noticed. What's that and what's this? So, and if you want to find out what any of these things are, if you just simply go to our website, At the top of the website, it has a little connect with us, okay? First of all, many of you know by now, if you're attending these classes, everything we do virtually is listed here. Sometimes they're not completely up to date because I forget to send them the information. Like tomorrow, it's not on here. It will be in the morning. I'm going to have a product feature class for Journey and Fanfare owners. So that'll be listed. And you're all welcome to attend, even though it's in the midline range. I'm sure anything I teach on there will apply. But at the very top here, there's these little icons here. If you're not on our emailing list, and you would like to, because I send out notices for these sometimes twice a day, morning of and then about 45 minutes before, and you want to be notified of what's happening in the week or upcoming events online. We have a lot going on these days. Tomorrow I'm doing a product feature class. Saturday, I think it's on here. Let's see. I'm sorry, Friday. No, it's not on there. Where is it? Oh, yeah, there it is. Product Spotlight. We've been doing that. We've been having some fun with that. Carrie is going to feature a product. We generally have, I don't think we have a demonstration on this one. So if anything, you know Carrie has a lot of fun when he does his little presentations. So that's happening on Friday. But anyway, you can always, if you're on our emailing list, if you're not, just click on that little envelope and it'll open this up and it'll basically ask you for some general information. Email, first name, last name, phone number, birth certificate, social security number, credit card to be charged for future. No, I'm just kidding. Just general information. And then obviously just some of the start things are important. Email is definitely important. That's how you get the notifications. And then up here, if you touch the little F, it'll bring you to our Facebook page. And, you know, I've been trying to really stay on top of making some posts and keep you updated on upcoming events as well. And I've put some, this is where we had Gene was a star a while back. I posted his video of him playing, with some new members, just some general stuff that's kind of fun. And you get up-to-date information on things, classes, events, or just anything specials and promotional stuff. This right here is our new Instagram, which is something we are now starting to do. And that's also very important, staying up to date. And then YouTube, all of our YouTube stuff is here. You just click on that. And we have all sorts of demonstrations and product feature classes, and a lot of them are grouped in what they call playlists. If you go to this playlist here, you can actually, there's all sorts of playlists, if you will. I guess that's just what it is. So all of the tricks of the trade, well, I shouldn't say all of them, but a lot of the classes, all of the product feature classes, not all of the Don's classes and Joe's tricks of the trades are on here. You have to be a Patreon member to have access to all of that. And how do I do that? You just go to the last one here and you click on the P. And this gives you access to all of the different content that we post. So we put everything on there plus bonus content. Oops, I clicked the wrong thing. I don't know if you ever have done that before. You clicked the wrong thing, but there you go. And then everything just shows up on the feed. Everything that we do is available on this. So anyway, if you have any questions as to what are all those things, just feel free to reach out to me. We can get with you. You have any questions about what we've done, get with your personal assistant. If you don't have a personal assistant, let me know. I've kind of taken the role of running this store by myself and taking care of all the students here, so I'm very engaged with everyone. I'm glad I checked the chat. What model Lowrey are you playing? I am playing a Lowrey Symphony. And I've been playing on the Symphony in a lot of the classes because I can showcase a lot of information that pertains to the upper models. I can relay information to some of the SU series as well, and the A models, obviously. And then occasionally I do run into sometimes I'll reference a rhythm style that may not be. For example, I mentioned the Latin big band. That one is started on the Palladium and the Prestige. So I might say things like, if you don't have that style, try another Latin style, things like that, okay? So with that said, what I'm going to do is I've got a rhythm style here that I'll just play the intro real quick and then stop it and then start over. But tell me if you're familiar. Tell me if you know what rhythm style this is. Someone may know this because we've done this before. But and what's cool is I'm using Rhythm Preset 10. It automatically sets up a brass shake with a 5-part harmony and some strings, but it's got trumpets or it's got a brass section, the trumpet shake, and then down here no harmony. But tell me what style. See if you can get it right. Oops, wrong button. Sorry, wrong chord. Anybody know what style that is? I think Gary knows. Gary, don't you know that?
Nope, I've heard it, but I can't remember the name
Oh,
of it.
gosh. I thought I wouldn't stump you, but I think I stumped you finally. That is this style. Let's see if you know what this one is when you hear it. Here we go. Recognize it? Happy Organ. Happy
that's
Organ.
what it is.
So if you put on Happy Organ, and I'm guessing that it's style setup, vintage style setup 10, because it's Rhythm Preset 10 here. What it does is it puts the auto bass 2 on, okay, and it sets up that brass section with the that 5-part harmony, okay. But if you play, the trick is that you got to play a minor chord with it. If you don't, intro, it just does that. If you do the intro 2 with a major chord, you can see it's similar, but it's not. So what it does is in the intro, if you do the minor chord, it does that introduction like Peter Gunn, and the auto bass 2 plays a part where it goes. Okay, so here we go. That's really all I know of that song. I need the rest of the music. Actually, back in my band days, I was a guitar player, I still am, but I was the guitar of the band. We had a bass drummer and a saxophone, and we did a whole rendition of that in our own little version. And we'd do that, and then we'd go into hotel, Heartbreak Hotel. But the saxophone player that I had in the band back then, he used to play that part really cool. Anyway, so I'll finish up with actually a song that pulls out, see if I can do this without the music maybe, but it sets up harmonies. And by the way, starting on the Palladium in Prestige, all those harmonies I talked about on the top can also be obviously available on the Lowrey keyboard. And I've done that from time to time, and I just forgot to reference some of those models. So basically, Prestige, all the A technology with the touchscreen models, the EX, EY touchscreen models, your Lowrey keyboard has all of the same harmonies you have available for the top and the bottom, which comes in handy when it comes to some of the settings. Because if you have something big and full here, it's good to have something big and full there as well, so that way you can hear the melody. But when you play this style Unforgotten 0, rhythm preset 0, it sets up an AOC and a block harmony down here. Now the block harmony is not the piano vibes guitar type effect. It's actually, it's got a little bit of string saxophone in there with just a touch of something else to kind of give it a nice smooth setting. So here, it's got a great organ sound with an AOC, and then when I go to the bottom keyboard, just watch how that saxophone blends nicely with the combination of sounds they have set up. Here we go. Just plain easy play here for you. All right. Well, thank you so much. We hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something. So if you have any questions, I saw some in the chat. I'll take a look at them. And let's see. Oh, it looks like Gary helped out. Thank you. I didn't catch it. I don't always keep an eye on the chat when I'm doing this. I get caught up on what I'm doing. But if you have any other questions and you're thinking about it afterwards or you want to know more, you can call me or you can email me. I'll actually, before I sign out, I will put it in the phone number. I made the mistake of doing it I said it out loud one time. This was like a few years ago on one of the things that I did. I said my phone number, and that was out on our YouTube channel. And you know, a lot of people watch these things. And so I ended up, I think what it was is I was offering some free music or something like that. I said, email me or call me, and I said my phone number. And I got like 30 phone calls in the next 2 days. Can you get me the? So anyway, so I just put it in the chat there. And what I'll do is I'll say it when I stop the recording. So anyway, I just put it in there. If you have any questions, call me, email me, and we can take it from there. As always, stay safe. Keep playing music and every day. And mwah, everybody.